This is the obsidian that he's making now, and then he'll turn them into knives.
Wow.
And then this is what, brown obsidian?
I didn't know
Mahogany.
that.
Mahogany.
Mahogany obsidian.
And that red stuff, that's glass.
Wow.
If it's totally red, Betty.
Okay.
I never heard of it. I didn't know obsidian came in other colors besides black.
Well, there is some stones, like there's one called jasper
Okay.
that is actually naturally red. It's deeper than that, and usually
Let that goes back for a minute.
like sacred in some tribes.
Okay.
And it's I was told it's more up towards
It's up towards the
Maine, I was told by some elders. And this is like one of them traded, Richard, this is kind of one of the jasper colors.
Wow. It's a beautiful color.
I've seen deeper ones. I don't know if he's
And then
made
this
any
is
plates out
brown.
of it.
Okay.
and then he also carves
That one's an
out of
eagle
bone.
head.
And
Wow. How long has he been doing this?
Richard's done this since like late 79, early 80s.
Wow. A considerable amount of time.
Yeah. I've been doing powwows with him since like 97.
You've been doing what since 97?
97, 98, I started selling dream catchers and jewelry and such and learning flint knapping from him.
Wow.
And then this,
Wow.
That's snowflake obsidian.
yes, that's
Betty,
snowflake.
turn them around. There you go. That's a neck knife, that one there.
This is a neck knife. So back in the day, this would be worn around your neck. And when you went out in the field to harvest herbs or roots or whatever, you just have your knife right here on your neck.
Wow. Very convenient. What are these? They're what?
These are turtle shell rattles.
Wow.
So when we dance, we carry a rattle. And also when we sing with the drum, we also rattle.
Are they considered sacred?
Turtles?
No. Well,
Everything is considered sacred as far as the native people are concerned.
okay.
Even the air we breathe.
Yeah, if only others felt that way about the air we
You
breathe.
know, the four directions, all of it. The turtle represents the earth that we're standing on.
Okay.
And let me show you this one over here.
That's why most natives call it Turtle Island.
I wasn't aware of that.
Okay, so the turtle shell, there are 13 sections in all turtle shells.
Oh,
One for each of the moons. And there are 13 full moons in a year.
okay.
So the turtle, there are many different stories. I'm going to tell you one that I tell other people, but each tribe has a different sort of version of it. And all of the native stories have within the Bible. I mean, so when Creator covered the earth with water, the turtle offered its back, and the otters swam down and grabbed the earth underneath and put it on the turtle's back. And as it dried, it would expand and continue to put it on there, and the trees would grow. And Creator saw that the animals needed their human friends, so that so with this, North America is Turtle Island.
Okay.
And so the turtle also has a very strong heart.
Strong heart?
A strong heart. The turtle has a very strong heart. It's hard to kill. So,
so this is a turtle bat, but what is this item here?
this
Yes.
this is a bag that I carry when I wear my regalia. And I keep things like tobacco and prayer ties and different things in it. This is a medicine. A marriage vase. The groom and the bride drink out of the tube.
Wow.
And then up here, they smash it and bury it.
Thank you.
Is that for good luck? The smashing of it? Yes.
I would think so. It came off of something. What is
Came
it?
off of this.
Oh, it came off of this.
Yep.
My stuff is falling apart. This is wampum. Now, most of my heritage comes from the Southwest.
Okay.
These two people right here that are eating are more local. But wampum is made out of the quahog shells.
Most people know them as clam shells.
Yeah, the quahogs are the bigger ones, and they're purpley in the inside.
Wow.
And they would break them up, and they would make beads out of them, and then they would tell stories, and they would keep records with the wampum, making belts and so forth out of it. These are story people. Because there was no writing, there was no written language.
Right.
All of the stories and traditions were all kept, and then during the winter, they would sit in the lodge and they would tell the stories. And see the children on them. So the story people were very important because they kept the traditions and the laws and so forth alive, because they were told and told and told and told. Kachinas, this is a hoop dancer. And kachinas are a representation of certain things.
I've heard of them.
Okay. This is a burden basket.
Oh, burden. Okay, burden. All right.
Yes. And it's hung outside the door, so that when you come to visit me, you leave your burdens in the basket outside.
Are you obligated to take them again when you leave?
Well, you can if you want them, but if not, this is loosely woven, and so the burdens would trickle through, and at the bottom would disperse them. But if you want them, you can have them back if you want them.
That's okay.
So that's pretty much my stuff. And then
Betty, did you tell her about this stitch?
no, you can tell me about this stitch.
This stitch is found on a lot of Richard's dresses and such. It's called a sweet braid stitch.
A sweet what?
Sweet braid stitch.
Okay. Wow.
I don't know if you can see it very good. on something this small, but it's a very nice braid.
It's a beautiful braid, you say. Wow.
Yeah, it's represents the braids of sweetgrass that they use for smudging.
Okay. Thank you.
This is Raven Shadow.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Well, let me start with this. Not too many people are very aware of these. This is actually a gourd. Traditional people years ago didn't have metal or anything like that. This would be a traditional canteen.
Oh, wow.
It was a gourd that they melted beeswax and lined it with beeswax to make it hold water. And just a simple cork of whatever you had. This one happens to be regular cork, and then usually a long strap. You throw it over your shoulder and carry it. And when you were thirsty, you had water. Various different types of beadwork. These are actually true seeds on here.
Seeds.
Yeah, these are pine seeds.
Wow.
They would also years ago take, we have a lot of, hang on, I've had sepsis and my brain is not quite the way it used to be. Sumac.
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 It's all right.
You could take the branches of sumac, and it's very, very soft in the center, so you could take a stick and poke through it.
Wow.
And you could cut it into beads,
Wow.
and it makes the longer beads. Those were really old traditional. We used porcupine quills.
Wow.
We also flattened them and wove them and did different things with them, but they're often used on earrings like this. I have earrings that are actually carved bone. That would be very typical. They would carve that sort of thing.
What is it? What is it carved on there?
It's a beaver.
Oh, okay.
It's a beaver.
Thanks.
My husband's name is Quiet Beaver, so I wear those a lot for him. People in the southeast would use things like sand dollars, little sand dollars that they would find. We used horsehair for a lot of things. So those would be horsehair. And then we made rattles and other things with hide. You would cut the shape and stitch it up, most of it, fill it with wet sand and let it dry. And then when you take the sand out, it holds the shape. So you would have rattles.
Sound again.
This one is actually filled with corn, dried corn.
For the sound.
For the sound.
Because it's
yeah.
a rattle, yeah.
We used a lot of shells for rattles. This one is actually an English Channel urchin, sea urchin.
Wow.
That's got seed beads in it.
Seed, I'm sorry.
Seed beads,
Seed
like
beads.
these type of beads like this.
Oh, okay.
That are in it.
That's a beautiful.
so-
That's a beautiful exterior.
It is. They're gorgeous. And of course, we use hides for the drum. We use hides for our clothing. And then women often would carry a knife wherever they went because you never knew if you were going to harvest something herbal or if you came upon an animal that you needed to harvest something off of. And they would be, as Rich is doing his flint knapping over there, this is another one that's been cut that way.
It's a beautiful blue.
Yes.
What is that?
I honestly can't remember. You'd have to ask Rich. I think it's a form of obsidian, but I'm not sure.
All these colors are obsidian. I really thought it came in black.
Up here, we use a lot of soapstone, but soapstone is too soft to do this with, so I'm not sure. And then out west, of course, they had catlinite.
They have what?
Catlinite, pipestone. They used to call it pipestone, and that's what this is. Up here, we would use soapstone to make our pipes with, usually.
So how long would it take to carve something like that?
The gentleman that did that, it took him about 2 months to do it.
Wow.
This is my husband, and the beaver on the front. And he also did the bag for him and the stem. But that's definitely a Western style.
This is wampum.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
that's what the shell looks like, but not broken down into the little beads.
Wow, that's amazing. Beautiful. So I'm guessing all these things are made by hand still. Is that right? Wow.
If you would think about not having clothes, not having a gun, not having electricity, how would you survive? You would hunt, and you would use the meat for food. You would use the hides to make your clothing. You would use the bone.
Eastern people have the shorter fringe because we're in between the trees and stuff, and the long fringe would get caught.
Okay.
The Western people on the plains have very long fringe because they're just walking through grasses and stuff.
Wow.
The sleeves are tied on.
They're tied on.
They're
Okay.
tied on. You would take them off in the summer, untie them, and take them off in the summer. And then you just use the fringe to tie them back on again.
And they're tied together. The hides are tied together.
Yeah.
There's not stitching. They're tied together. And what they did was they would take the tendon of the animal and they would dry it and then they would chew it to soften it. And that was their thread.
Wow.
Muscles and tendons come apart in strips. They're like threads. So if you dry it and then you beat on it a little bit, and it's separate.
Son of a
And
gun.
that's what they use for thread.
Wow.
And
So,
the bones become
All sorts of things.
all sorts of things. They become utensils.
that's amazing. So was there a separation of work between men and women?
Somewhat.
Somewhat?
Men usually spent their time off in the woods hunting or protecting. And the women pretty much did everything back in the village, from all the gardening to processing whatever the men brought home, minding the children.
And the grandparents were the teachers.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The children went to them because they're the ones with the knowledge.
And a lot of tribes would do the aunt or the uncle would teach as opposed to the parents because they had a different relationship. So kids would tend to listen more. A boy would listen to his uncle more. A girl would listen to her aunt more. So the aunts and uncles did a lot of teaching with the children as well.
Wow. So they were passing along the stories.
Yes.
You were talking about
in the
earlier.
wintertime, when you weren't out in the fields or in the woods hunting, you would all sit around the fire and tell the stories and teach.
Wow.
And the women also had the moon lodge where they would teach.
Do you know what a moon lodge is?
No.
A moon lodge is separate from the other lodges. And it's where a woman went during her menses
Okay.
so that she didn't have to work and she didn't have to cook
And care for the children.
or care for the children. She got to go and stay with other women that were experiencing the same thing she was. And they would pamper each other.
Wow.
And share teachings. The young ones, that's where they would learn to be women within the moon lodges.
Son of a gun.
And there's a big misconception. Everybody thinks that the men, because women weren't allowed to touch like the men's hunting weapons and things like that. And there's a big misconception that the men were afraid of the women, and that wasn't true. It wasn't that they were afraid, it was that they respected that women have women energy that is meant for nurturing and things like that. And the men didn't want to have that kind of energy when they were out hunting or at war. But it wasn't a fear, it was a respect, because women bring babies into the world. Women are the keepers of the children and the next generation.
Wow.
So they totally, it's
And without
so
women-
respectful. Yeah, there is no creation.
There is no creation.
True.
So there was a lot of respect amongst all of the people. And as far as chiefs go, it's like,
The women put them in and the women could take them out. It's true.
up here,
It's true.
the
Up here in
Hunt,
Northeast.
the Haudenosaunee, which is the 6 tribes in New England, their leaders are women.
Wow.
Well, and the Cherokee as well. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Their beautiful women were the true. They had a war chief and they had a male chief that was.
But the women made all the decisions.
Right.
And then they went and told the chiefs what they wanted done. And they could take that chief out of power, too.
Yes.
And the chiefs are always men?
Traditionally, the chief would have been a man, but the women that had his ear had the power.
Right. And
Nice.
chief means just the head of.
Yeah.
Right.
So there would be, a hunting chief or a war chief
Right.
or, and then they taught the people under them. It was just,
You have to have a leader. You have to have somebody with the voice that organizes, that tells you how to get to one place or another or whatever. But if he wasn't considering the best for the people as a whole, he didn't stay chief because the women would step in.
All right, so how did that work? How did they, so let's say the chief doesn't follow what the women wanted. So how would they?
Councils are very, very powerful. The elder women would get together and
elder
have,
women.
elder women,
Yes.
yes, would get together and have a council. And the head woman of each clan would be a grandmother, would be called grandmother. But there were also other elder women, and they would have a council. And often everybody was allowed to come and listen, but they wouldn't be allowed to speak.
Oh,
And the elder women would make decisions based on what they felt was right or wrong.
wow.
And then they would go to the men in the elders' council, the men's elders' council, and explain to them what they had decided. And they
and
would
it's
be
like
backed
3
up.
strikes and you're out.
Yeah, kind of.
So,
So women were powerful, and
yes.
if when people got married, the children did not belong to the husband; they belonged to the woman, the mother, and her people, her clan. They became members of her clan, not his.
Wow.
It was not everywhere. Out west, they were more patriarchal, but out here, they were more matriarchal.
Son of a gun.
If a woman was married and didn't want to stay married, all she had to do was put his moccasins outside the door.
Son
And
of a
then the
gun.
men would all come. Out west, where there was teepees, the men would all come and just pick up everything that was hers and move it and leave his here.
Sorry, I have to.
I totally understand. Wow.
So that was divorce.
Well, it's easy peasy enough.
Yeah. No nonsense. Just, I'm done with this.
Absolutely.
And heaven forbid a man should be abusive. Was not common. Sexual assault was not common.
So,
We didn't have jails. We didn't need them.
all right. So, what would happen to the man who would do that?
I mean,
What would happen to the man who would abuse a woman?
Depends on the abuse. Sexual abuse is pretty delicate. I don't know if I want to get into that.
well, a lot of times that they would be shunned.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, at the very
probably
least.
the worst thing you could do to somebody is turn your back on them.
Okay.
And
Especially
when,
when you depend on each other for survival.
Right.
And they did.
so if someone's is not being healthy for the whole tribe, they would turn their back on it.
Wow.
And they would be driven out. And they could, exist outside of the village. But they wouldn't be in the village. They wouldn't be around the people, and they wouldn't be able to depend on them. If they got hurt or hungry,
Wow.
they would be on their own completely. So it wasn't something that tended to happen because they knew the consequences, and the consequences weren't pretty back then for people that depended on their community to survive and their survival in numbers.
So, since I don't know anything about this, so would he ever be able to come back?
I would think that there were ways that if something really drastic happened and they out, that they might be able to earn their way back. I can't say that I know of a case, but I would think that it would be possible.
But if you went and counseled with the elder men on how to treat a woman, you know, they would make the decision.
And then probably take it to the Women's Council for correction.
Yeah. But the Women's Council wasn't up front. It was, we didn't need to be, and we still don't need to be right here. We can be back here behind the table. I don't need to be, what's the word I'm looking for?
In the spotlight? In the spotlight?
Basically, the men would do the bidding for the women. They would go out and represent them.
That is amazing.
I mean, and that was the whole point. Let the men be men.
Yeah.
You know, and the
I
women.
mean, we knew they had egos. But the system worked.
I mean, there's only so much you can say on TV or on a blog. But really, the women didn't need to be out front. You know, we gathered back here and we talked it out, and then we told this guy over here, this chief over here, okay, this is what we need done.
This is what's best for the community as a whole. You know, and that was always the goal with the women. Always was, what's the best thing we can do for the community as a whole. That was their job, and that's what they did. So, I mean, it didn't make any sense not to listen to them. So there were roles, but they were in some ways kind of loose. I mean, a woman could become a warrior. A man could stay home and take care of home and hearth if his wife became a warrior.
Wow.
And there are documented times when women did go to war.
Yeah, the Apaches, the women had the choice.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
You could become a warrior or you could stay home.
And we also had very different views of people that we today would call gay.
I'm sorry, that what?
Yeah.
We had very different views of what people today would call gay. We called them a different name depending on.
But they were special.
Yeah, they were treated as if they were a gift to the community, and they would be called a two-spirit. And they would be very respected. In fact, usually they were considered medicine people, and that's where people would go to get a name for a baby. They would go to a two-spirit to get a baby's name because they had a more balanced connection with spirit. We are energy. We are our spirits are energy, and they recognize that. And we all have male and female energy to us, all of us. Some of us have more female, some of us have more male. A two-spirit would be balanced and would have the attributes of both.
Wow.
So they were people that had very high standing in the community because they were considered more balanced. And the more balanced you are, the closer you are to spirit.
Wow. That's amazing.
It is, absolutely. I wish that more people would try to understand the difference between the way this society feels and the way the Native society has felt for generations, because it would be a different world. It would be, I believe it would be a much better world.
No, I agree with you. I think so too. Wow.
I mean, respect is huge, and we don't walk in that in this world, in this society. And, everybody's out for themselves. There's no communities. You might live in a place and think it's a community, but it's not a community like when you depend on each other and you know each other and you know what you each need. You know what you're each good at. So, one person would do flint knapping. and another person would do beadwork or something else. One person would know herbs. Somebody that was really good at healing would know what to do with those herbs. And you know, we just, years ago we had blacksmiths that knew their trade. And
So these are
we just don't have
This table here
that
is
kind of community
things that
anymore.
we made.
You know, frog skins money came in the way, and all of a sudden things
Like
became
this
very
is,
different. And it's hurt the traditional people because government doesn't understand that. So it's really hurt the traditional people a lot. Yes, ma'am. Wampum?
wampum. It's like I'm
We're all, you
pouring
know,
my egg here.
we're all getting old.
So this is
And
wampum.
unfortunately, a lot of the young ones aren't learning. They're just not picking up. And it used to be that younger people would step in and take over roles as people got older. And it's just not happening much anymore. And it's sad. It is what it is, you know. They're all involved in being with the technology, and it's sad.
And then they would tell a story.
It's going to be lost soon.
Make belts and
If people
different
don't
things that you
step up, it's going to be lost soon. And our environment
And
is
then these
paying
are
the price
story
for it
people.
too. Because
And
native
because there was
teachings,
no written
you take
language,
just what you need.
Right.
And you leave the rest for more people or for another
certain
day.
people
Or,
were
you know,
teachers
to
of the
propagate,
story.
whatever.
And the
And these days,
and then
everybody's so
they
greedy, they'll
would
take everything they
sit
can.
and tell the
And
children
it's really hurting
and
us as a country.
everyone. And then
It is.
there's the lodge.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and sharing it with my viewers too. So, what is your name?
My name is Raven Shadow.
Raven Shadow. And your name?
I am walks beside me. Walks beside me.
Oh, alrighty. And thank you as well. It's been incredibly interesting.
Thank you for your interest.
Absolutely.
And I
then
hope
this is
that
a
people will
handmade
hear
food.
our words and learn something and maybe seek out more information. That would be
And then
awesome.
beadwork.
It's always my hope that people want to
And then
do
Mine
more
as
after they see my videos.
Mine as well.
this
Well,
is
I
a
wish you
burden
luck with
basket.
your endeavors.
Well, thank you very much. I
Hope you're
appreciate
very
that.
successful.
So that when
There's always the goal, but I actually just enjoyed what I do,
they
so
leave their
it's a plus.
burdens in the basket,
It is a plus. Not everybody
and
gets
they
to
would
do
fall
that.
through
This is true.
the wedding.
All right.
Well, thank you for your
All right.